day when it really had 1,000 oaks. There were more oak trees than people. There was lots of rolling hills, cattle, and horses. They used to make TV shows and movies there. Like, anybody remember Wagon Train of Rawhide? I actually met Clint Eastwood at one point when I was a kid. And also at 1,000 Oaks, there was one institution that made the town. Any of you remember it? Jungle Land. They made movies there. My father worked there for a while, and so did I. And I used to play in the set for Tarzan films. I knew all the animal trainers. Mabel Stark used to come to our house and eat and stuff like that. It was a fantastic place. I could do a whole lecture just on the wild, crazy, strange people at Jungle Land long ago. But that's why I grew up right there. And then when the town, 1,000 Oaks, got too civilized, my father sold our land and moved to Ventura. And I've been here since then, attended Ventura High School, Ventura College. Then, after receiving an AA degree, I transferred to Long Beach State, where I received a degree in history, and went on to become a teacher. So I took a year's postgraduate work. I taught for a while at Princeton Junior High School in Buena Park, and I got totally fed up with teaching. By the way, it's kind of funny. I didn't have any problem with the kids. I just had it with the administration. I just didn't like people telling me how to teach. I wanted to do it my way. And they said, no, you got to do it our way. And so we had a falling out of the ways. Then I worked for the Catholic school system, which was really good. The nuns, I learned so much from them. And I worked at Our Lady of Guadalupe here at Oxnard. And I learned a lot from those nuns, by the way. Learned more from them than I ever did at State College. And but I literally starved to death. I could not survive on what they paid. So I got a job selling shoes where I made more money, and did that. And finally I got a job working for the library system, and then I wound up getting a job at the city of Ventura. I made a career of the part-time job, worked for them for 22 years, rising to become the historian for the city of Ventura. Around this time, I got a chance to do an archaeological dig at the old mission San Antonio de Padua in King City. Have you ever heard of it or gone to it? It's out in a little valley all by itself. And we got to stay at the mission with the monks who lived there. And so it was there that I saw what I believe to be a ghost. I was working, I could tell you a whole lecture just on what we did that summer. It was a fascinating dig we did. We were digging 105-degree temperatures, so punishingly hot. And at first, I was with the archaeologists, and I tried to keep up with them. These are old men, but I couldn't keep up with them. Archaeologists are the hardest drinking folks you'll ever meet. They're these scholarly men in the daytime. Then when the sun goes down, they find the saloons where they break them up and drink. So I tried keeping up with them for about 3 days, and I figured I can't do this. So I came back. I took on a special project for the monks, classifying axe heads, if you're all interested. And one night I was up late, 12:30. And I figured, oh, no, I've got to go to bed. But that night, I had KP. You know what that meant? I had to wash the dishes, essentially. But I had the key to the kitchen. And more importantly, the key to the bunker where they hid all the cupcakes. And I knew I'd have to surrender this key the next morning to the other poor fool who had to do KP. So I was going to use it, right? Have myself a snack. Well, I was walking through the courtyard, heading to the kitchen. Big, dark Spanish mission courtyard, fountain in the middle, roses, you kind of get the idea. And I saw, off on the other side of the garden, a little bit of light floating along. What's that? And I'm walking, and it's moving too. And I got to the very center of the courtyard where there was a big fountain bubbling away. And by now my eyes had adjusted to the dark. I could see it was a monk with a robe and wearing a hood, holding a candle. Well, a candle's kind of odd. People don't carry candles. But monks still lived there. That's a monastery, right? I figured, oh, one of the brothers is up. I'll go talk with him. So instead of going that way to the kitchen, I went the other way to catch up with him. So I never saw his face. I was behind him. But I was getting closer and closer and closer till I was about as far away as you are, sir. And bang, he disappeared. He was gone. He just gone. He didn't fade out. He wasn't transparent. He didn't glow. He didn't sparkle. Nothing. He was just there, and he wasn't there. And what was my first reaction? He fell in a hole. I looked, the hole. Oh, I know what it is. He blew out the candle and ran away to frighten me. I thought, wait a minute. We're walking on gravel. If he ran away, I would have hurt him. Then I thought, well, wait a minute. I heard my footsteps, but I never heard his. That's why it dawned on me. You know, this must be one of those ghosts they talk about. That's why I got scared. Those of you who've had the pleasure to see a ghost will confirm this. When you actually see them, you're not scared. In fact, the most apt described feeling is wonderment. You go, oh, that's a ghost, isn't it? That's after they disappear. That's when you get scared. That's how it was with me. Did I go to the kitchen? No. It was dark in there. Like the ghost in there, right? I went back to my room and I left the light on. I tried to sleep. I couldn't, but every time I closed my eyes, I could see it again. Now, the next morning, I had to get up early, and we all ate together in this great big hall. It could have held 300 people, gigantic refractory hall. The archaeologists team, about 40 of us, ate on one side. The monks, about 12 of them, ate on the other. But I did something I hadn't done before. I turned in my key. I found out what we were having for breakfast. You know what it was? Flapjacks. So I joined the monks. What were they having for breakfast? Steak and eggs. There's some advantages to being a monk. And so I sat down, and they were nice. They're nice, both being monks, I guess part of the job description. They gave me some eggs and steak, and we were talking, and finally I said, are there any stories about ghosts? And everyone stopped talking. And finally the head monk, Brother Timothy, turned and said, we see them here all the time. And he gave me a litany of ghost stories, including the fact that there were all kinds of bizarre happenings. The strangest story they gave me, the headless horsewoman rode around the mission on a white horse. And how did they know it was a headless horsewoman? Topless from the waist up. But she didn't need to worry about blushing. She had no head. I was kind of wondering about the monks at this point. I was about to leave because the team was getting ready to go on the day's work. And they said, oh, there's one more ghost story. And I said, that was Brother Timothy, or Brother Joseph. And so I sat back down. They told me this tale. There had been a member of their order, a wonderful man. He was considered a living saint. I mean, everybody loved him. He worked extra time working with the Indian children at the nearby reservation. He was just this wonderful man. He played music, he sang, and every night at 12:30 exactly, he'd light a candle and leave his room and go to the church and pray an extra hour above and beyond their normal prayer ritual, which is pretty intense. And then he died. He was an elderly man in his 80s. He finally passed away, and he's buried there at the mission. But they see him with the candle going across the courtyard to the church. into the chapel to pray as he did while he was still alive. That's what I bumped into. And that is what got me hooked on ghosts. I wanted to find out if I was insane or not. What had I seen? And here's another question. I saw this ghost. He looked very real. I saw him for well over a minute. And then all of a sudden he disappeared. Where did he go? I'd like to know. I'm still investigating. Well, after that, that's about the time I started to get involved in ghost hunting. I came back to my hometown of Ventura, and I immediately thought, well, you know what I'll do? I'll make a survey. I've heard about a few ghosts growing up around here. I mean, how many ghosts could there be in Ventura County? What, 25? Maybe 30, 40? My files bulged with over 1,000 cases just in Ventura County. Now, does that mean that there are 1,000 ghosts? No. That means 1,000 sightings of ghosts. There is one place not far from here, the Bard Mansion, where lots and lots of people have seen ghosts. Now, I've done my studies. It seems like they have 4 ghosts there, but they account for over 50 sightings. So my files are actually 50 sightings of that 4 ghosts. There's a restaurant and bar in Ventura called The Tavern, Santa Clara Street. It has a ghost that's been seen by over 80 people. And most of the people who see it are women, which is very logical because she's seen in the ladies' bathroom. And accordingly, she is a ghost of a lady named Rosa who hung herself in the early 20th century. Anyway, that's the story. But in my files, she is nearly 80 cases. I think it's now 81 or 2. But I keep getting stories. That's what's so unique about ghosts. They don't, they're not stagnant. There's one ghost, and then maybe you'll get others. Sometimes they cycle in and out. You know, one ghost we've seen in a place for years, then she's gone, and a new ghost comes and kind of replaces her. So I guess they go round robin or something. I don't know. But I first decided that I would take my files and divide them up by city and town. And what did I quickly discover? My file on Ventura was very thin. Ojai had the biggest file. Ojai has a lot of them. And of course, Oxnard and Port Hueneme has quite a number of them as well. And Thousand Oaks, where I grew up, I heard of a few ghost stories growing up around there. So all of these I've put together. I've written a number of books, by the way. If you're at all interested, go online to Amazon.com. I have an author's page. And there's thousands of books. Oh, it doesn't look like thousands. It's lots of books. I think I had published about 27, I believe. But I've actually written about 80. They don't all get published. And I write in a lot of different genres, not just about ghosts. I write murder mysteries and histories. No ghosts, just history, biographies, as well as the most popular topic, which is ghosts, some of which are still in print to this very day. You can go to many of the missions of California, and they have a book called The Ghosts of the Missions that includes my encounter. And also there's another book that's in print called The Haunted Southland about Southern California ghosts. A number of books which are no longer in print, but I wish they would go back into print, is Haunted Hollywood and Ghosts of the Northern Nevada and Ghosts of all of California called Ghost Stalker's Guide. So I've done lots of different stuff. And each of these stories come about through investigations. What I do is I try to find something and I want to share it. Now if I want to talk about writing books, if you want to be an author, I could do a big lecture just on that. Don't. It's if you think you can get rich writing books, think again. I got my royalty check from Amazon for the month of September. You know how much money I made? $7. I got another one. It was $5. You don't make a lot of money doing that. If I tried to rely on that, I would quickly starve to death. But I enjoy writing, or I wouldn't do it. And by the way, I have a new book coming out that I wrote for the Oliva Sadobi volunteer docents. I wrote it and I gave them the rights so they could make the money on it. And I'll be doing a book signing exactly 1 week from now at 1 o'clock over at the Oliva Sadobi. If you wish, you can buy a book, which can only be bought there at Amazon.com. Yes?
Does Fillmore and Piru and Camarillo have ghosts?
Yes, they do. All kinds of them. Some of them. I'll talk a little bit about them. But we're going to try to focus on this area. And we have lots of different ghosts right here. So what have I done in the past nearly 40 years since I saw that first ghost in July the 2nd, 1978. The name is kind of branded in my memory. Since then, I've done all these investigations, which include not only California, Arizona, Nevada, and Hawaii, but I've also gone to Texas and Florida, as well as Massachusetts, and even London, England, which, by the way, London is like a Disneyland for ghost hunters. And I'm known by a lot of people. There are a lot of stories have been written about me in the English tabloids, which is kind of a good thing. My wife and I got special permission to tour the Tower of London, which was kind of unique. You don't often get that. My ghost hunting has meant that I get a chance to go places many people don't get to go to. Yes, sir.
Can I ask you a question? I walked in late because I was just...
What was that again?
I walked in late because I was just around the beach, so I had a question.
Oh, I'm sorry. My hearing is really, really bad. I'm sorry. I had an ear infection. I lost the hearing on one ear. What was that again? What's your question?
What's your name and then what's your interest?
Oh, my name is Richard Sennett, and my author page is on Amazon. Check it out. And Google me if you like. Go right ahead. All kinds of stuff.
I kind of want to more detail of what piqued your interest.
What was that again?
What piqued your interest?
He saw a ghost at a mission.
Oh, that's what did it. I saw this ghost. I couldn't explain it, so I wanted to find out if I was crazy. What's the good news? If I'm crazy, millions of other people are too. Some of the most famous people in the world have seen ghosts, including President Theodore Roosevelt.
I know, but
and others, many others.
I know it's
So that's what got me interested in it.
Sorry.
I'm sorry, I can't hear very well. I had massive ear infection. Most painful thing I had in my life. Oh, that's a different topic. We'll talk about. We want to talk about today. In fact, 1 week from today, I will be with my wife at the Bard Mansion. We're doing a seance there at the Bard Mansion. And the seance is to try to communicate with the 4 ghosts that are said to haunt there. That's a gigantic Italianate mansion. And if you don't know much about Ventura County history, you ought to learn about Senator Thomas R. Bard, our first and only United States Senator from Ventura County. The only one we've ever had. He was the richest man in Ventura County, and some say he kind of bought his senatorship. Back in those bad days, you didn't have to run for an election. The legislature kind of appointed. So he became appointed and served very well, as a matter of fact. What is his greatest accomplishment? He was the senator who nominated George Patton to go to West Point. So, in fact, George Patton is a Californian. Did you know that? He used to come to this area all the time. I even went to the, what is today the naval base where the Bards lived, built this massive house. Now, how did he get his wealth? Oil. He started a little company you may have heard of, Union Oil 76. So he's great, great, powerful man. But his wife and he did not get along. As a matter of fact, kind of an interesting story. His brother, Dr. Cephas Bard, was a physician. And he married a woman, and at the wedding, his brother, who was best man, saw his brother's wife's sister and fell in love with her. She was 15. And he was like 35. She asked to marry him. Of course, her parents said no, and they kept seeing each other. Finally talked her into it and built a nice mansion. They had a number of children and all that, but they didn't see eye to eye. And eventually they sort of separated. She hated liquor. In the 19th century, alcohol was a great scourge. It was a little like our drug problem, only worse, because you could buy it anywhere. And it was cheap. And if you have a toothache, why go to the dentist where you can just buy a shot of whiskey for a nickel? Shoot it back, feel the ease, and guess what? Your toothache doesn't hurt anymore. But you're, of course, drunk. So a lot of alcoholism was destroying people's lives. And many women did their best to stop it. Now, Molly Bard, the senator's wife, was a teetotaler and believed that alcohol was the worst thing in the nation. The champion fiend, as they called it. So when they built the mansion, she forbid all alcohol. And of course, the senator is a politician. And in those days, much of policy was fueled by alcohol. Probably still is, I don't know. But some of the wrong-headed things they do, I can understand it. Well, so she forbid that. She also, guess what? Dr. Bard, who unfortunately had a bit of a habit with taking off with prostitutes. And he'd just have a fight with his wife, get a couple of prostitutes, and she wouldn't see him for a week. And finally she got fed up with that and divorced him, which is very rare in the 19th century to divorce. So her sister wouldn't allow the senator's brother in the house. So the senator had to go out. They usually went to a saloon in Ventura and drank and communed back and forth. But all of these negative energies may be there. After the death of the senator and the senator's wife, the son got the house, Richard Bard. And in World War II, on a patriotic gesture, what did he do? He gave the land to the Navy. And they expanded their holdings they had, and the mansion he gave to the Navy. And what did they turn it into? The Officers Club, which did what? Yeah, it's a bar. And of course, the ghost of Molly Bard came back with a vengeance. Her house, now the home of the champion fiend. And she haunts and wanders the place. And if you talk to anyone who works there, they have scats of stories of encountering the ghostly woman. Now, the biggest story I heard is kind of unique. A guy went to the place to enjoy a dinner. And right by the stairway at the lobby is a men's bathroom. So of course he went in to do his thing, and he was washing his hands, and he looked up at the mirror. And he said when he looked up, he was shocked to see a woman with an evil look on her face right behind him. And he went, whoa, and he turned around and looked, there was nothing behind him. But he looked back, and there she was, still in the mirror. So he quickly finished washing his hands and left. And they think Molly Bard is still angry about things. So things are moved, lights go on and off, all kinds of stuff happens. In fact, one manager of the place got sick and tired of the ghost stories. Called everyone in and said, I don't want to hear any more ghost stories. Ghosts don't exist or are no such thing. They're just weak-minded people. What are you drinking? You're drinking too much booze if you're seeing ghosts. So he got really mad. Then that very night, he went up when the place closed to his office on the second floor, where it just so happens the manager's office is the senator's old office. He's there, like counting out at 3 o'clock in the morning, and he hears his boots stomping on the floor, coming closer and closer. He was getting kind of mad. Who's up here? What's stomping around like the doors fly open to the office, and it's the senator himself. And his hat and his coat and his long tie and everything. He walked right up to the desk and then disappeared. So after that, he said, you can talk about ghosts all you want. There's also those 3 ghosts there. So I think the senator's there. Molly Bard, she's the most active. The third most active is a Chinese servant. See, back in the olden days, there are things you did to show yourself to be wealthy and powerful. Now what do we do today? You get a good car, right? Now back then you had a good thoroughbred horse and buggies, right? Later when cars came, they were very expensive. You got one of those. But one of the things in California to show you are rich, you have Chinese servants. As a matter of fact, a Chinese houseboy was paid double what a Yankee, African American, or Latino was paid. They were so well thought of. They were made great servants. They had a guy named Ah Chang. And Ah Chang was the servant who ran the house. And he lived at the top of the place in the attic, where they also had playrooms for the kids to play in on rainy days. Well, Ah Chang is still there. People have seen and heard him in the kitchen and on the stairs. They hear voices talking in Chinese. Kind of interesting. There's also a little boy, let's see, one of Dr. Bard's had a small son who died as an infant. And they say he haunts a place as well. Now we're going to go there and we're going to try to contact one of those phantoms. But if you've ever been to a seance, they're really weird. None of them happens the way you want them to. They go off on their own tangent. So I don't know who's going to really come in. We've had Molly come through. She's pretty active. And the senator himself may come through, or someone who visited the place, or perhaps even someone from the Second World War. The whole base has ghosts in it. Not just Bard Mansion. He's the best known ghost, and certainly has the best digs. But the PX is haunted. I talked to a lady who worked there. They were closing up. She saw a man in an officer's outfit, maybe a captain, walking around as if he's trying to decide on something. Now they wanted to go home. It was closing time. It was like 9 or 10. So finally she walked up to the guy and says, "Can I help you find whatever you want?" And he didn't even look at her. Then finally he looked up, disappeared just like that. But lots of stories like that happen. Talked to another man who was in a Quonset hut over there, and he saw a man running through the building. He goes, "What in the world is this?" And then he runs through the building, and he was wearing like a white outfit, kind of like from a hospital. And then 2 guys dressed as MPs followed him. When they checked, there was no one there. But doing a little historical research, that Quonset hut in World War II was used as a hospital. So lots of hospitals are haunted. Those are just a handful. I'm sure there's probably lots of them. I know one of the old Bard mansions, he actually built 3 of them, each one getting bigger and bigger as it became richer and richer. The second one is where the base commander lives, and his daughters were actually bothered by a ghost. So my wife and I came to see what we could discover and see if it was perhaps one of the Bard children or servants that were haunting that building. But lots of other ghosts in Port Hueneme. In fact, not far from where we're at, just down the way a piece down here, is the old Country Inn. Now it's called the Holiday Express Inn, and they don't talk about this, but it's haunted. Now, is that so amazing? Not really. If you're looking for ghosts, old hotels are really good. Now, when they first built that, Martin Smith decided to decorate it with lots of old antiques from ships, a figurehead, stuff like that, make it look very nautical. He loved nautical stuff. You know, he supported the Maritime Museum and things like that. But he insisted on real antiques, not replicas. So we think something was hooked to one of those artifacts, and that's what he brought into the place. So if you have a brand new house, and if you buy an antique, you may be getting more than you bargained for. I've gone to many places to find it. I know my wife, she is a psychometrist. You know what that means? She gets vibrations off stuff. Like she can like touch a chair and get an image of where it was and who was in it. It's really kind of fun to go with her to antique store or something. I know that when she's closing her eyes and smiling or shivering, it's something she's doing. Well, we've had a lot of things like that. So psychometry does exist. Something was attached to that place because at a certain time of night, right after 1 a.m., a ball of light would come floating down the stairs. One of the night clerks was on duty, and they were waiting because it happened at like 1:05. It was like clockwork, 1:05. So they were waiting for something to happen. All of a sudden, the lady started, her eyes started flickering, and she kind of was just shaking all over, and she started writing something. And then she passed out of it. It wasn't her handwriting. It was an innocuous message. I forget exactly what it said. Something like, I'm looking for so-and-so or something like that. But that place was haunted, and a lot of strange and bizarre things occurred there. Now, I don't know if they got rid of all the nautical stuff. Maybe the ghost went with it, or maybe it's still there. There's another house just down the way by where the steak and hoagie place is, right over here on Hueneme Road. There's an old house here. I talked to the guy who demolished it. And he said when they went into the house, there was a door to the basement. And it had boards nailed across it, and it said, "Do not enter." Of course, when you see a sign like that, what do you have to do? And they said that when they pulled the boards off and opened the door, an ice-cold blast of air came out, and they said it was intensely haunted. There was something going on there. But the whole building's torn down. But I always wonder if whatever's in that basement might not haunt the steak and hoagie place. I should go over there and say, anything like odd happen around here? One house my wife and I investigated, they'd hear little children crying and running up the stairs. In fact, the people who moved into this old house, which really isn't that old, it's from I think the 50s, they were puzzled and thought someone was breaking in. They called the police a dozen times. Finally, the police gave them my car and said, there's nobody breaking into your house. It's a ghost. Talk to this man, he'll help you out. Go out, and we investigated, and sure enough, it was haunted. All kinds of bizarre things happened. And then we did a seance and found out that on that site had been another house. And it had a lot of children in it. The house had caught fire in the 1920s, and a number of children were burnt to death. And this was a reenactment of that terrible event that had happened earlier. Now that house is gone, but they built on the exact same site. So even if you had a brand new house, if you built on top of a haunted location, you might inherit all of their ghosts. So it's pretty strange stuff. This is just in this area. If you go down to Oxnard, all sorts of stuff. Oh, that really has many a ghost linked to it. I'll tell you about just a few because I could talk literally all day just about that by itself. Oh, before we leave Port Hueneme, back in the 50s and 60s especially, they tested out a lot of missiles. And what they would do is get old World War II era destroyers, tow them down from up north, and take them out to sea and use them for target practice. Would launch missiles at them and see how well they were. And they say, a friend of mine was at the base, and he had the job of going through the ships before they towed them out to make sure nobody was on them, that would lose their lives. There was nothing on them that might be important. You kind of strip the ship of any recyclable items. Well, he was on the ship. It was to be towed out the next morning. He claims that he went on the ship down to the engine room, and he had a powerful flashlight. There's no lights on them, they're just a shell, pretty much. He flashed it in. He said whatever was in there ate the light. It was completely dark. So he flashed the flashlight in. It just absorbed the energy. He got ice cold and frightened of it, and he never had that happen before. He didn't even believe in ghosts. He went and got someone else and they saw it. And then about an hour later they went back and everything was back to normal. But when they went into the engine room, someone had painted on the bulkhead a sign saying, on this site, 9 servicemen lost their lives at the Battle of Okinawa, where a Japanese kamikaze plane had struck the ship. So was that disaster the cause of it? I wish they hadn't sank the ship. Wouldn't you like to go on board and investigate? But they hauled it off and it's down underneath the channel at this point in time, test for a weapons system. Lots of stuff do happen. Well, in Oxnard, one of the places you can go is Heritage Square. And I do advise you, what they did is they got a lot of old houses that were slated to be demolished and moved them onto this one block. They fixed them up and now they're used and rented out as offices, restaurants, and such. And they are haunted. The most haunted is the grandest house of them all, the Justin Pettit house, a big Queen Anne 4-story monstrosity, right? Yes?
He was my great-grandfather.
Well, did you know about Uncle Eddie?
I know Uncle Eddie too.
Well, Uncle Eddie is supposed to still be there. When he was alive, he watched over the house. And now that he's not alive, he's still watching over the house. But he's a good ghost. That's a good thing you got to remember about this. I talked to a lady who's a lawyer at the top floor office, and she said that around 5:15 every day, the lights would go out in her office. And she said, well, this is odd. What happened? Maybe the power failure. She got up to check the light, the switch, and it had been physically flipped off. And then she felt behind her hands, cold hands, pushing her out the door. So she would push her out the door, and the door closed and locked behind her. The ghost was saying, you worked enough today, go home. So after that, what did she do? When 5 o'clock came, she was out the door. Wait till 5:30, 5:15. But that's not the only ghost. There was an insurance company, a lady who claimed to be psychic walked in, and she saw a figure of a ghost man standing in the office. She said, who's that man there? And he turned, there's nobody there. She said, I'm out of here. She left. Yes?
You were saying this is a good ghost, so there are good ghosts and bad ghosts
Yes, there are.
and intermediates, I guess.
Most ghosts are completely neutral. See, ghosts reflect the living world. How many evil people are there?
There's a lot.
No. Most of what we call evil is simply selfishness disguised as evil. But are there evil people out there? Yeah, there's Jeffrey Dahmers and stuff like that. And it's like that with the ghost world. There are people who are evil. And when they die, what kind of ghost do they become? Negative. Now, are there positive ghosts? Yeah, that help you out. I've talked to people whose lives have been saved by ghosts. So there are both dimensions. But the vast majority of ghosts, they don't even care about you. They're just doing their thing. And you bump into them, but it's like chance encounters. Well, getting back to the Pettit house, they had a theater in the downstairs, the Pettit Theater, the Petite Theater, they called it. And the actors told all kinds of stories about props being moved around. I guess a ghost likes to come down and watch the plays for free. And there's lots of stuff there, but there are other ghosts as well. There's a church there that they saved, and I actually saw this ghost. Now they rent the church out for weddings. Remarkably, here I've been studying ghosts nearly 40 years. How many have I seen? Just a handful. They're kind of rare. And I've been looking for them. Well, people go and they get married at the church. But when they do, they get all these odd pictures of strange glowing balls of energy. Sometimes full apparitions in their wedding pictures, you know. And so I had a feeling it was haunted. And I had gone in there, we had a ghost team come. And we had a thermal device. And we found actually 2 seats had been pulled down and there was indentations in them. Yet no one had been in the building. No one sat in those seats. But they were strangely cold. We got lots of activity from that church. Wouldn't you know it, I walked in one day and there was a man, a smiling man, standing there wearing a checkered shirt and a vest and a little hat. He's quite a balding man, very friendly fellow, and it's like greeting me. He had something in his hand to hand me. Then he disappeared. I guess I wasn't the right denomination or something. But it is an interesting place. You may want to go out to Heritage Square and examine some of the ghosts, because more than a few of those buildings have haunted stories. And people who work there will give you all sorts of different accounts of the things that they've had happen in the city of Oxnard. One of the strangest ghosts I had was in the newer area over by Rose Avenue, and they had a strange ghost that inhabited the area, caused all sorts of mischief. Well, this is a poltergeist that caused things to move. The strangest story we got, well, poltergeists are a unique kind of ghost. Many think they're not ghosts at all, but they might be linked to children. They could be psychokinetic energy caused by their subconscious mind. That's a theory they have. What happened is there was a man and wife, they broke up. And she got the house, the kids, and the dog. He took off. And so their whole family was disrupted, and at that point in time, they started to have paranormal things happen. Pictures came off the wall, the cabinet doors would open, in the kitchen all the pots and pans fly out, poltergeist activity. But the weirdest thing, she put her young son to bed, I think he was 3 at the time, 3 or 4. She went to the living room to watch TV, and the little boy's teddy bear started to walk out into the living room, walked up to the chair and fell over. So when Teddy walks, that's what you call a ghost hunter, right? So they called us in, and I got a hotshot psychic to come down, and I was very cautious. I wanted to make sure there's no way she could fake me. So she didn't tell her where we were going, what happened, what's going on. I wanted to be absolutely cold. I even drove her there. I didn't give her directions. You know, she could have researched it some way. I wanted to. Drove her there. She had a couple of divining rods, and she went into the house. I didn't tell her a thing. I made sure that no one who lived there told her anything. She went down the hallway because the young wife had had an apparition sighting. She was in bed. This is an interesting story. She was in bed with their big German Shepherd dog. Huge dog. I met the dog. He's very mean, too. Not a friendly hound, but great protection, I'm sure. And he was in bed with her. Now, she kept her door of her bedroom open so that she could listen up for her 2 children, for her daughter and son. Well, she woke up out of a sound sleep, looked down the hall, and saw these sparkling lights rotating in a big circle. Boy, that's kind of odd. She said it would look like a swarm of fireflies. Then they got brighter and brighter and brighter, and it changed from being fireflies into being a clown with a red nose and a funny hat and big shoes and suspenders and all that. And he was silently dancing in her hallway. Now, would that scare you? Now, interestingly enough, she's sleeping with the dog. The dog wakes up. Now, you would think he would go after something like that. He didn't. He looked at it, and then put his head down, went back to sleep. And then, after a while, it all disappeared. But I didn't tell the psychic about this. She came, she got the dowsing rods, they went down the hallway. Right where the clown was, they crossed. It happened right here. I said, well, what do you think it is? I'm getting a feeling from this room. She goes into the room. It's a little boy's room. She goes to the big chest of drawers, and the 3rd drawer down she pulls out, reaches into the clothes, and pulls out a little doll of a clown with a funny hat, red shoes, vest, and suspenders. what she had seen. So what was it? Was it the young boy trying to project happiness into a house that was filled with sorrow? Maybe. Maybe this was his symbol for happiness that they had at that point. That's why he projected the clown and scared the death out of his wife, out of his mother. I mean. Well, what about the dog? He sensed it was the boy. Go back to sleep. Nothing dangerous there. We went and did a full investigation. We did what we could, and finally we got rid of the ghost, and it all went away. But that was a house that happened just down here, not too far away. So there are lots of stories like that. But Ventura County is no shortage of ghosts. I'll tell you just a few of the better known ghosts we have. One of the most haunted roads in Ventura County is Creek Road. It goes from Oakview to Ojai. Have you ever been on it? Dark, creepy, no lights. The trees overarch the highway like a tunnel. It's rumored to be haunted by up to 12 ghosts. But the most known ghost is Charman. This horrible figure of a man, all hideously burned, all over his body, clothes are in rags. And his story, I'll keep it short, is that he was a farmer in 1950 or 51. No one's exactly certain of the date. He had an altercation with a bunch of teenagers, hot rodders, used to party late at night listening to jazz music and stuff like that. I guess they still do things like that. And he got mad at him and chased him off his land. One of them came back and set fire to a tool shed. And the fire carried to the main house. It caught on fire and he was burned to death in the house. That's why he burned all over. But being it's a ghost story, it doesn't end there. His ghost walks Creek Road. What's he looking for? The teenager who started the fire. Even though it was 1950, he doesn't know the time. But guess what? He hates all teenagers. Especially, he also hates rock and roll music. So if you go to Nordhoff High School and you have an evening to kill, what do? Well, you get in your car, to roll the windows down on a summer night, and you play rock and roll music and drive down Creek Road to see if you can see Charman, all right? And it has an added benefit. If you have your girlfriend with you, right? It's dark and creepy. What's she gonna do? Snuggle up close to you. But guess what? People have seen him. That's the remarkable part. And just before they sight Charman, they smell the distinct, sweet, sickly smell of burned human flesh. Then they see him. His face is like hamburger. Well, that's the story anyway. People have seen him. I talked to one couple. I can talk all night about stories. One couple, not only did they drive on Creek Road, not only did they play music, but they parked and necked on Creek Road. And I did not ask them what they were doing. Remember, I was a teenager once too. And my memory isn't that bad, I can remember that. And the girl told me that she was in the back seat. And she heard a tap on the window. And it smelled this odor, thought it was a skunk or something. She looked up, and in the window she saw the horrible burned face of Charman. And that ended all romance for her. Talked to another guy, who by the way goes to Nordhoff High School. He's in college now. I think he's out of college actually. He was in the football team. He's a big kid, the lineman. So he had earned his letterman's jacket and a big letter. He's very proud of it, even though it was the summer he was wearing it. He'd gone to a party at Miners Oaks. He lives off Apache, off Creek Road. So he's driving home late at night, like 2 a.m. And he's a senior. He's driving home. All of a sudden his car stops. And what do you think happens? He thought, try to start it, wouldn't start. It's an old car anyway, so he's like, I'm a mile from home, I'll walk home. It's a beautiful night, warm and nice. So he's walking, he hears somebody follow him. and the grass and weeds. That's getting closer, closer. So what did he do? Well, what would you do? Run, right? Turn on faster. And it got faster too, really fast. And then something grabbed him by the back of his jacket. And he said it was powerfully strong, and it stank of this awful stink. And it grabbed him and pulled him. Finally, he said, whatever it is, you can have it. He pulled out of his jacket and ran home. He told me that if he had been timed for the Olympics, he would have beat the 4-minute mile. But he said he didn't even remember his feet touching the ground. When he got home, it was 3 o'clock, and his family was asleep. He didn't wake them up. And he tried to go to sleep and just shaken by the whole encounter. Next day, he told his father his car broke down, so they drove back to give it another jump to start the motor. Drove back, and he was looking for his jacket. What happened to my jacket? The guy grabbed it off me. Couldn't find it. Got to the car, and he said, before I jump the cables on the battery, just get in the cab and turn it over, see if it'll start. I tried, it won't work. Got in the car, turned it over, and started right up. I was driving back. Now they say, those who've seen Charmian on Creek Road, that he wears a Nordoff High School leather jacket. It's a trophy that he took. Who knows if he's still there. But lots of stories about Charmian. And there's many others about that. I'll tell you one more Ojai story, and that is the Headless Horseman. Now, this time of the year, there's lots of stories. Johnny Depp was in a movie about the Headless Horseman. Well, this guy is a lot worse than Washington Irving's story of Ichabod Crane. This is the Headless Horseman of Ojai. And the Headless Horseman of Ojai there was a bandit in the gold rush. And he was found that digging for gold's too hard. Much better to just rob people and take their gold easier, and then you shoot them so there's no witnesses. And he was robbing and looting and had a gang of men with him. Finally, his luck ran out when he tried to go into Ventura County. What happened? He went to the Arnez Rancho over in Oakview. Now, he has a big adobe, it's still a big 2-story affair. And wouldn't you know it, they decided to rustle the cattle of the Arnez Ranch. But that night, Arnez's daughter had a boyfriend who was a vaquero. And you know what he used to do? He would ride to her bedroom window, and then he would play a little song on the guitar. That's what you did back then. When I wanted to get into some girl's pants, play a little song, serenade, the very beginning. So she was waiting for Carlos to show up. He didn't show that night. But then she said, what are those men doing out there in the moonlight? She saw they were stealing their cattle. So she ran downstairs and said, Dad, Father, Papa, they're stealing our cattle. Wouldn't you know it? He was entertaining 12 lawmen from Santa Barbara. Having a barbecue for them. Stuff like that. They all got on their horses and went after them. Well, the bandit saw the lawmen, so he ordered his men to separate. Everybody go a different direction. They can't follow us all. But you know what those lawmen had? A telescope. And in the moonlight, they saw who was the leader. Him. They didn't follow the small fry. They went after the leader. He started riding up towards Ojai. Now, was he afraid? No. He didn't know the word fear. Also, he had stolen for himself a thoroughbred horse. What's a thoroughbred horse good for? Running, right? It sounds like a racehorse. Now, what if the lawmen have government-issued plugs? Cheapest horses they could buy, low bidder. So he knew he could outrace them. He's racing along, he's way ahead of them. All of a sudden, he got to the great oak tree at Villanova School, which still grows there. And under the oak tree, his fine, beautiful horse put its hoof into a gopher hole and broke its leg. Another bad luck. Of course, he can't fix a broken leg on a horse, so he shot the horse. Then he knew he had only one chance to escape. He'd have to kill every one of the lawmen. They got his guns out, loaded them, had a number of them. He went, waited for him under the oak tree. They had that, saw the death ward, they saw him, so they scattered and came at him from different directions. So he fought it out. As the sun came up, there was a great battle. He ran out of ammunition and was gunned down. Being it's Ojai, and it's a hot day, what did the Wahmen have with them? A shovel. They dug a hole in the shade of the oak tree. It's cooler there, you know? Then they rolled the body in of the outlaw they'd shot, and one of the Wahmen got a bad idea. Said, hey, you know, that hombre, he was one mean fellow, right? Well, I bet you there's a reward out for him. You know, wanted dead or alive? Why, if we can prove we killed him, we could be rich men. And the guy said, well, we dug the hole, maybe you should have told us that idea before we went to this work. We got another idea. They took the shovel, they went to the grave and looked down, and then hit the neck and cut the head off of the outlaw, reached down and grabbed it by its long hair and put it up and tied it to his saddle. And he buried the body there, and they rode off to Santa Barbara to get their reward. Now, I don't know if they ever got their reward, but the story doesn't end there. What happened to the spirit of the Batman? He was so evil, he stopped worshiping God. He started to worship Satan as his God. So when he ended up at the gates of hell, who was waiting for him there? His master, El Diablo. And what did the devil say to him, his disciple? He said, where's your head? I said, I'm sorry, they cut it off, you know. Sorry about that. They said he was so angry that his man was so ill-treated, he said to the outlaw, go right back up to the earth and get your head. I said, oh, I wouldn't admit it, Your Majesty, but you see, I've been condemned to hell for my many sins and murders and stuff. You know what the devil did? He reached inside his vest, and he pulled out a piece of parchment and a flaming pen, and he wrote a get out of hell pass. Like one of them, get out of hell. He said, and the outlaw said, you know, why, thank you. You're really not such a bad guy. They said, oh, wait a minute. I'm talking to you. The people with my head, they've got a head start. Bad joke. And the devil said, you wait right here. And he went back inside the infernal regions of hell, and he pulled out a gigantic horse. Did you know the devil has his own horse? This is an old story, you see. I'm told today he has a Porsche. So he brought the stallion out, but it's a thing of evil. As big as a percheron, and it can run at a mile a minute. And by the way, when it gets running fast, fire comes out of its nostrils. And it can run fast, but it stinks of sulfur and brimstone, which is rotten eggs, essentially. Well, he loaned the man his horse. Then the outlaw said, well, thank you. But, hey, if I catch up with those guys, they're going to laugh at me. I don't have a gun. I don't have anything. They still won't give me my head back. And so the devil said, you wait right there. And he went back inside the infernal regions of hell, and he came out with his own lariat. Did you know the devil has a lariat, a lasso? He doesn't use it to round up cattle, no siree. He uses it to round up the souls of sinners. If he gets that rope around you, he can pull the soul right out of your body. And what happens to your body without a soul? Drops dead without a mark on it. And then the screaming soul can be taken back to their punishment. Now, they say on the last night of the month, by the way, it's coming up, isn't it? Halloween night. He comes out of his grave at midnight, and he rides all around Ojai Valley with that lariat and all. Now he's given up trying to find his head, so he made a new deal with his boss, the devil. All he has to do is bring back 7 sinners' souls. He brings them back, his own well-deserved punishment will be put off for a month. Now he rides around Ojai. Does he ever get 7 sinners in Ojai? Never does. So he rides down Creek Road to Ventura. When he gets to Ventura, does he get his quota there? No. But he doesn't stop. He keeps riding to Oxnard. And they say he never fails to reach his quota. But it is a Ventura story. But if he ever should not meet the quota, he rides on to Santa Paula. Sure, pick up a few there. And then over the mountain, over Sulphur Mountain, and back to his grave before the cock crows at 4 o'clock. So he's riding fast. Anyway, that's the story of the Headless Horseman. That's a great yarn, and Latino mothers long ago would frighten their children. You'll eat your peas, or the Headless Horseman will come for you. Don't disobey me, don't sass me, or the horseman will come for you. Well, the thing that's weird, people have seen him. That's what's so really weird. They've encountered the Headless Horseman. But gotta remember this. If you haven't sinned enough, you'll hear his hoofbeats of his horse. You'll smell the stink of brimstone, but you'll never see him. You have to sin a lot before you see him. And if you see him, you have only one chance to escape. You want to hear it? Yeah. Do something you shouldn't do. All you gotta do is find a church. You don't have to go in the church. You just gotta touch the door. Now, if you touch the door of the church, being a thing of evil, he can't get close to you. He'll just laugh and ride on by. But have you seen a lot of churches on Creek Road? Well, it's a great story, and people claim to have had encounters with him. But after telling the story to a class I was doing, the next day, that night was the 31st, the next day was the 1st. Guess what was in the front of the Star newspaper? They found a guy in front of the mission, dead, without a mark on his body. And it looked like his hand was reaching up to the door. They said it was a heart attack. A homeless gentleman finally died of a heart attack. But we knew the truth, right? Of course, someone got him. He wasn't quick enough to get to the door and carry the soul to hell. Anyway, I've talked to lots of people who've been on Creek Road and said they've seen this dark phantom. Now, he isn't the only ghost haunted road around. Highway 126 is haunted by a lady in a white dress who hitchhikes. And people claim that they've seen her. Now, you saw a woman in a flowing nightgown, transparent. Would you stop and give her a lift? Of course not. But that doesn't matter, because after you pass her, she appears in the back seat of your car. Anyway, and I talked to a young fellow who claimed that he saw that and he lost control of his car, seeing a ghost riding with him. Lots of strange things happen. Now they say she, the white lady, only appears on nights when someone dies on Highway 126. Unfortunately, she's been seen quite a lot. All kinds of different stories. Now, even the Camarillo airport is haunted. Lots of airports are. That was used to be a Air Force facility, I believe, and a tragedy did occur there back in the 50s. They actually had jets, 3 jets, waiting all the time. If the Russians attacked, they could just jump in the planes, fueled, ready to go, armed. They could take off to intercept the Russian bombers before they could drop their nuclear weapons upon us. As a matter of fact, the pilots were ordered, if they couldn't shoot down the planes, they were ordered to ram them at the cost of their own lives. But they knew the destructive power of the hydrogen bomb. And would they have done it? Probably they would have, to save thousands, maybe millions of lives. But the planes were there. Well, it was an active Air Force base. Not everything was a jet. One plane had a propeller. And as you may or may not know, life around propeller-driven planes can be very dangerous. One man walked where he shouldn't have walked. A plane went by, cut into pieces. Okay? Tragedy. But his ghost, just 2 legs are seen walking around the base. even today. And of course, now it's being used as a place for juvenile delinquents, an animal place, and there's even a little museum there and stuff. People tell of ghostly sightings on those grounds. Lots and lots of ghosts in Ventura County. I'll leave you with just one more ghost story, one more place you might want to visit. And that's over in Newberry Park, my old stomping grounds, a place called the Stagecoach Inn. And it's a restored place built originally in 1876, and it was originally a Stagecoach Inn. But it shouldn't be haunted because it was moved. Not only that, it burned to the ground. So what you're seeing is a reconstruction. But the ghost decided to hang out anyway. And there could be 3 ghosts there, we're not certain. But one ghost, known as Pierre, is said to haunt the place. They even have a little book about Pierre you can buy, or used to be able to buy in our gift shop. Quite interesting. It's quite funny, I bought the book, and I found my name, I was quoted in it. Nobody asked me permission, but they quoted me anyway. But it's an interesting place. Now, what was the story of Pierre? Well, back in the 19th century, there were 2 rival groups. The people who liked sheep and the people who liked cattle. Cattlemen, sheepmen did not get along. The sheep ate all the grass down to the roots. And the cattle couldn't eat anything after they'd gone through and gleaned the fields. So there's just a lot of rivalry. According to the story, there was a sheep man, a Basque named Pierre. And he got paid off. He'd been sleeping under the stars with his sheep. He finally brought him in, and he was paid off for his work. He decided he'd sleep in a bed. So I went to the Stagecoach Inn and got the best room in the house he could afford. Now, the cowboys were there in the bar drinking. Most of the restaurants have bars in them, and that's where they made most of their money. And they saw this dirty old sheep man, in there. He was going to go up to the best room in the house. They had spent all their money. They had to sleep in the barn with their horses because they drank it up, right? They got so mad. One of them got so angry, he ran upstairs and he kicked in the door and he drew his pistol and shot poor Pierre to death. Now there are variations on this story. One of the stories, he ran upstairs, kicked in the door, drew a big Bowie knife out, ran and stabbed Peter to death. Well, Pierre to death. Third version of the story. He gets up, kicks down the door, comes in, and he strangles Pierre to death. Another story. Fifth version here. Runs upstairs, kicks in the door, gets Pierre, he draws his knife out to kill Pierre. Pierre grabs the knife and they fight and they roll around on the floor and then fall down the steps, and at the bottom of the step he stabs Pierre to death. Another story. Sixth version. Goes upstairs, drives Pierre down the stairs, and then he falls down and the other cowboys shoot him. All of them have one thing in common. Poor Pierre dies. And after that, of course, his ghost haunts the old inn. And lots of people have gone there, including Hans Holzer and others, have written up the encounter with Pierre of that place. And we've gone there, my wife and I and others, and investigated that old site. But I don't think it's a sheep herder at all. I think it's someone else, a guy named Haig, who used to run the place. Because where's the ghost seen? Not in the rented rooms, but in the family quarters. Yeah, or maybe they let him stay up there. I don't know why they would, but a lot of different things about that old place. Anyway, that gives you a bevy of haunted places to taste, whet your appetite here in the Halloween season here in Ventura County. I want to thank you for listening to all my stories. If anybody has a question, I'll be glad to answer.
We'd like to welcome everybody that came here to the museum. We've got Councilman Jim Hensley here from the city of Port Hueneme. And I'd like to thank Amy and Randy for supplying the cider and cookies today. Amy takes care of all our Sunday events, special events. We've got rock painting, beach class, scrapbooking, and Johnny suggested that we get a hold of you for the Hollywood season.
Oh,
Johnny's runs all the volunteers at the museum. And for your own information, Richard, the Bank of Hueneme's been in existence since 1880.
Oh,
And
really?
this is the second bank. The first one was down here on what they used to call Main Street, which is now called Sea-Doo. Broad Street, which is now Hueneme Road, Broad Street was because of all the farm wagons that had come down here to transport all the grains out.
Ah, good.
And just to let you know, Richard Bard's, one of his bad things was when he was a state senator, he voted against bringing in Arizona and New Mexico into the Union. And his reason was there were too many people, too many foreigners living there and not enough people that spoke English. So that's a little bit of trivia there. And we'd like to mention that we're going to have Richard again next year, and then we're going to also have him do a talk on movies that were filmed in the area around here.
A lot of great classic films were shot